Good evening, folks. Welcome to Deep River Farm. I appreciate everybody joining this evening. We're going to talk a little something about an ordeal that's going on. It's making the news, but it's not making the news. It's just been briefly spoke of and then kind of brushed to the side. And that is the possibility of fake meat. We got to say possibility of fake meat being in Campbell's Soup. I don't know if any of you are aware of it. You may be, you may not be, but an executive with Campbell Soup, during a discussion back in, I don't know, a few weeks or so back, in discussions of pay and benefits and stuff, the executive for Campbell Soup made a very startling statement stating that soup was for poor people and that he hardly ever bought it anymore because it was unfit to eat. And he was referring to the meat as being fake. Now, Campbell's itself has refuted this and said that that is not accurate and is absurd. But why would an executive make that kind of statement? Now, the news has picked up on this story. The state of Florida has already been investigating it and is going to shut Campbell Soup down because they do not allow fake meat in the state of Florida if it determines that it is indeed fake chicken meat. So Florida is already jumping on it just to have, I guess you can test the meat. I don't know. But folks, there is a prime example of just how easy it is to possibly manipulate and put stuff like this in our food supply. You know, there's only 4 major food suppliers in the United States. They have bought up every little mom and pop operation that there is. And it's either you get big or you have to get out kind of mentality. It's sort of like these big box stores come to these little small rural towns and they open up these super centers and run all of the small business out. They just run them out of business. They can't compete. And these were the folks that was the backbones of the community and of the little small towns. The people that you went to when you wanted your Little League baseball team sponsored or your soccer team sponsored, or the local radio station could depend on them for local advertisements periodically throughout the year. And now you don't have that. Even the little mom and pop radio stations have been gobbled up by people like George Soros that just bought 270 some channels about our stations about 8 months ago roughly. And you know, why would somebody want to buy up all that? They would only want to do that so that they can create and push a narrative that they want to push. There's no sense in people buying up that many radio stations unless you've got some big agenda behind it, because you just didn't suddenly get a deal on 270, 280 radio stations. But getting back to the food supply, folks, this is why we've been talking about it and pushing it and talking about it, that everybody needs to be as self-sufficient as possible. Because if something were to happen to one of these big food distributors, one of the big 4, could paralyze the United States in food, and it could be a shortage of whatever they do. You know, and then the other side to it is, if you've only got 4 major food distributors, how easy would it be to manipulate and pay off or bribe or blackmail or whatever you want to call it, somebody that was overseeing them? And I've got a problem with the three-letter agency, Food and Drug Administration. Food and drug. Why would food and drug be combined? You know, if you're in it to make big money and you're a drug company, if the food was to make you sick, the drugs could make you better, or not better, but treat you. Without people being sick, the pharmaceutical business is hurting for money. And you have people like our Microsoft founder who has turned himself into, I don't know what you call it, wannabe farmer, wannabe doctor, wannabe pharmaceutical rep, knowledgeable in everything he wants to try to manipulate and take over and control. But just think, folks, he's buying up hundreds of thousands of acres. He's probably the largest landowner in the United States outside of the federal government. And he buys up all of these farms and things. And he's a heavily invested in fake meat companies. So, you know, if you buy up farmland and you don't farm it, then, you know, you've got an investment in alternative food, also known as fake meat. Then think about it. You're shutting it down to monopolize another way to make money. So if you can shut down the farmer, then you can introduce your fake meat and push it on people. Is that what has happened at the soup factory? We don't know. I'm sure it's being looked at hard and heavy. You know, why, it comes to my mind, why, if you're an executive, you know that dude's making killer money. He's making massive amounts of money. Why would he jeopardize making massive amounts of money and make this statement to somebody knowing that it was going to be told and the conversation was being recorded? Did he know it was being recorded? And if so, did he really care? Because, you know, he was under contract negotiations and don't know if he was not getting what he wanted and he thought he'd report it or let it be known or what. But, folks, this is why I started this channel in the beginning, was to show people how to grow food and be self-sufficient as much as possible and not depend on these big box stores and these big food distribution places. Depend on your local farmer and not your corporation farms. So, you know, you got to get away from these big operations because they poison the ground. They spray it with that glyphosate. Let's just run through one here, for example, for a cow, okay? They spray the pasture with glyphosate when they're growing the hay. So they're using, to start out with, a bioengineered seed that is Roundup ready. So this hay, fescue, whatever it might be, alfalfa, whatever, is planted with Roundup ready seeds, and then this stuff comes out and they got a bunch of weeds coming up with it. So they come through there and they spray it with Roundup to kill the weeds. Well, the Roundup ready seed fescue flourishes and continues to grow and everything. And then they come through and they spray it with other kinds of stuff, I'm sure, that's not going to hurt it. And then they get their first cutting off of it. They round bale it. And they put it in dry storage. And, you know, some of that stuff, they're turning right around and feeding it to the cattle. Well, the cattle is eating a bioengineered Roundup ready crop that's been sprayed with Roundup. So now the cattle are consuming the Roundup, the hay that's been sprayed. They're consuming it. They're also consuming the product that was made from Roundup Ready seeds that was bioengineered, DNA changed. And then the cattle are out here. They're doing their business, They doing their number two, out there. And there maybe it's a dairy cow. Well, the farmers has got these cows on the feedlots. Well, they're scooping up all the manure, and people's putting their manure on their gardens. Well, guess what? The manure has got the glyphosate in it. Well, what's happening to your fruits and vegetables that are growing in the garden? This Roundup is in the ground, so it's stunting and killing your vegetables. So people say, well, I planted 15 tomato plants and 10 of them died. Well, there you go. What didn't die is absorbing the glyphosate in it, so you turning around and eating that glyphosate chemical in your vegetables, your tomatoes and your cucumbers and all that stuff. So you're sitting there eating it. The cattle's eat it. So now they've killed the cow and they made steak out of it. Well, now you're eating what the cow ate. You're eating what's put in his system or her system, and you're definitely eating glyphosate. And then you're eating, if they fed them on a feedlot, then you're eating all of the bioengineered corn, the bioengineered seed from the corn. The DNA was changed, which makes it have less protein. You're eating that hay that the cow consumed. You're eating that soybean that the cow consumed, all which was bioengineered and stuff like that. And the mineral blocks and things that the cows was licking on, to supplement their minerals and all this, they're all come from bioengineered products that was made into a molasses block or a salt block or a mineral block and so forth. So you're just constantly eating the pesticides and things like that. And this is where I have a problem with a seed company like Monsanto joining forces with a pharmaceutical company like Bayer. So if the food makes you sick on the first side of they take over the food supply and they generate these seeds for Roundup Ready. So the food side of the corporation is you're eating it and it's making a large percentage of the population sick. So the other side of your corporation, Monsanto, Bayer's a pharmaceutical company. The pharmaceutical company gets rich off of you because you're having to be treated for cancer and all this other kind of stuff. And it's a vicious cycle, and it's all headed up by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. So they're over it. They're in cahoots with it to make everybody sick so they can all get, rich off of big pharma. And if you notice when you go to the doctor, folks, they don't try to tell you how to get cured. Well, we're going to give you a pill. We're going to treat this. There's never a talk of a cure. We're just going to treat it. So that's the vicious cycle we live in. It's called greed for profit. And this all ties back into these fake meats, all these bioengineered foods, all the bioengineered seeds. All this garbage, folks, that's being consumed is making you sick. That's why you want to do everything you can to not eat or participate in the garbage. And you say, well, I live in an apartment or a townhouse and I just don't have the room for a garden. You can plant, you can build a raised bed, folks. You can plant more in a raised bed in less square footage than you ever could in a garden and have twice the benefit, twice the harvest, and and eat healthy. Now, if we could get rid of this spraying overhead, that would eliminate the fall down from what they're spraying above us and contaminating the soil that way as well. So you're eating those chemicals. But if you grow in black gold, folks, you've reduced it quite a bit, because it can accumulate, because the trees regenerate these leaves every year. And if you compost them leaves and you let it turn black and you keep it covered, it's not able to be sprayed on. So think about that. You can put that soil in a raised bed and put a hoop over it, call it a hoop house. You can look that up on the internet, and that keeps anything on the air, outside air, from being able to contaminate it. And then you say, well, if I collect my rainwater, yeah, if you collect your rainwater, that chemical stuff, the aluminum and stuff, would be in the water. But well water or whatever, as long as you don't have PFAS in it, it's going to take a long time for those chemicals to get down into the aquifer, so you'd probably be okay. But they need to stop the spraying. The spraying is what it's all about. It's all the chemicals that are wiping out the human population, especially in the United States. So folks, that was just a little bit I wanted to touch on today. If you're not prepared for next growing season, I would highly suggest that you do so. Get your seeds, get your seed collection started, get your heirloom seeds. Stay away from all this other garbage. You can get hybrids, but a hybrid seed, you can't save that seed and use it year over year. It doesn't work that way. You have to have heirloom seeds. Well, folks, I appreciate you joining me here today on Deep River Farm. I just wanted to get that out there and let you know kind of what we're seeing, what's going on, what they're trying to cover up, if that's what's going on with the soup, and just to try to show you just how vulnerable you really are to the food industry. And if they can succeed on the food side of making you sick, then the other side of their conglomeration corporation deal makes a pile of money because you're sick. So they buying up the farms, they shutting them down, they using fake meat, they're using bioengineered food, seeds and things on these corporate farms, which in turn cuts the protein out of your food, out of your vegetables. It cuts nutrients out when they change the DNA. Therefore, you're not getting adequate amounts of nutrition off of your vegetables and things on this stuff. And you can go in the grocery store, and 90% of that stuff in the store is fake meat. Fake food, fake junk. Not the meat, so to speak, but the fake food. All your chips and all that's bioengineered stuff. All your sugar beets and things like that's coming from it. Go down the cereal aisle. Every bit of your cereal is bioengineered. I've quit eating cereal. It's fake food. Or, bioengineered. To me, it's one and the same, because the original grains have been manipulated and they're not what they used to be. And a lot of these diseases, folks, are coming from all this bioengineering that they're doing. And it's causing, because you're changing the chemical makeup of the seed, which then produces itself in the plant. And then those chemical makeups, your body doesn't know how to process it, so it's confused and don't know how to metabolize it. And then there lies the long-term eating of this that's causing your health problems down the road. Well, folks, I appreciate you joining me here today on Deep River Farm. I hope everybody has a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next video. So folks, when you go to the store, make sure you look at that label. You'll see some of them are going to the extreme to keep you from finding out what you're eating by using a QR code or a smart label. If you'll notice, Frito-Lay, which is owned by PepsiCo, they went to an extreme smart label. And when you click on that thing and you get your camera out, take a thing of it, and then it'll access it by the app or whatever it is, you got to hunt and hunt and hunt to find out if it's bioengineered foods. They're doing that on purpose, folks, and keeping all of these ingredients from you so you don't see how bad the chemicals are in your food. they're getting away with it with a loophole by using these QR codes so they don't have to print it on the backs of the bags. This way you don't know all the saturated fats, all the red dyes and yellow dyes and all the preservatives and stuff is in it, because people are wising up to it and they're using a QR code as a loophole, saying, oh, we've got it labeled, but you have to literally stand there and download everything to get the information. And then there still are some that are printing genetically modified and bioengineered foods on the cans, as you will see in the upcoming bags of potato chips using the smart label, and also on the Campbell Soup. Followed by what you're going to see is the results of heirloom seeds that are planted at Deep River Farm and the crops you will produce. And then you can save the seeds out of those and grow the very same crop the next year without ever having to visit the feed store, and save yourself some money.